I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
How's it going, everybody? This is Eddie with Player 2 Gaming, giving you my impressions of the Star Wars Battlefront beta. I should preface this by saying I'm a huge Star Wars fan, especially of the original trilogy.
I heard Yoda talking about midi-chlorians.
They are some of my favorite things in entertainment. I absolutely love Star Wars, so playing this game had me really excited. That being said, I was still a little bit undecided on whether or not I'd be rushing out to buy it day one, especially considering that Fallout 4 comes out the week after. So over the last 5 days, I played a lot of this beta, and after playing it a while, I can say that I'm really happy with the game. There are some problems that I think need to get fixed, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, let's talk about the presentation of the game. The graphics are incredible. Just honestly, some of the best graphics on the PS4 and in games in general. I saw it run on PC as well, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. But on top of that, not only are the graphics just good, but the graphics work together to create the most authentic Star Wars experience I've ever played, just without a doubt. DICE had said previously that they worked with Lucasfilm and taking different props from the movies and working with, animators to really make this seem like it's a genuine Star Wars experience, make it feel like you're in the movies, and it definitely worked. The way the explosions kind of spark and have just little chunks fly off makes it look exactly like the practical effects that we saw in the original trilogy. The way that the lasers zoom around you as you're running, and the stormtroopers, have that plasticky sort of sheen to their armor, and everything looks like it's a practical effect. It doesn't necessarily look realistic in that sense, and I love that. That is exactly what I was looking for. But then you also have the environments of Hoth and Celeste and Tatooine, which just look almost photorealistic in their presentation. This came together to just create such a phenomenally well done Star Wars look, and this is matched by the sound design. The way that the lasers sound are all authentic Star Wars sounds. The way that the soundtrack booms in the background, especially as battles start to kind of heat up, is just it's awesome. It's awesome. This all comes together to where I'm running in the trenches of Hoth, and there's TIE fighter lasers booming across my head, and I can hear the TIE fighter battle music in the background, and there's an AT-ST in the background that's about to get exploded by Rebel rockets. It tickled the Star Wars fan in me, and it made me really happy to see that DICE put such love into the Star Wars franchise. And the gameplay actually matches this, and in this sense, I thought this was going to be a Battlefield clone when it was announced, and that wasn't necessarily a complaint, but I, being a fan of the first two Battlefront games, and the PSP games for that matter, I've always liked that Battlefront was a little bit of a different breed. It's a more of an arcade shooter, not necessarily as tactical or as deep as the Battlefield or, say, Call of Duty, anything like that. And I think DICE kept that. In some ways, I feel like this was a wrong choice, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the game definitely doesn't feel like it's a Battlefield clone. It's really fun. Let's just put that out there first off. I enjoyed myself a lot when playing this game. The basic shooting mechanics really still feel like they're the Battlefront type gameplay, especially when you're playing in third person, because you can play in first or third person. But they've also added a lot of different mechanics under that create a cohesive sort of vibe that keeps in line with modern shooters, but also has its own spin to it. So the basic shooting is just like you would remember from Battlefront without the lock-on. There is a slight aim assist, but that's beside the point. I feel like the third-person mechanics work really well. I was afraid that being tailored to a first-person audience, the third person would be lacking, but I actually found myself playing the third person almost entirely. The first person works well too. I do think the scoping's a little weird in the first person, the way it zooms in. I do think I actually would have rather preferred just iron sights. If you're going to go first person, just go first person in a modern sense. But I also like the way that they've added the card system, the hand system. So as you play the game, you unlock different items. So you have thermal detonators, you have ion blasters, jetpacks, and you can select these different power-ups to be equipped with as you start the game. So nobody feels really overpowered or underpowered with their loadouts. This creates customization, but also allows you to be able to have an equal battle when you're playing. But there are some problems in equality with the game, specifically on the Walker Assault game mode. In the Walker Assault game mode, which is a recreation of the Hoth battle from Empire Strikes Back, it pits the Rebels against the Empire, and the Rebels have to set up uplinks, which call in Y-wing bombers, which bomb the AT-ATs so the Rebels can take them down. However, the AT-ATs are complete bullet sponges. It takes a really long time to take one of them down, and there's two of them. Also, if you don't keep the uplinks up, which is a bit difficult because it has about a 20-second cycle till it's officially up, you can only have maybe one or two bombers in. So I find the Empire winning almost every time, and this has been a consistent complaint that, at least in Walker Assault, but I think also in Drop Zone on Celeste, the Empire seems a little bit overpowered. They seem to have better vehicles, a wider array of vehicles, I should say, and I think that they need to work on balancing issues before the game launches if they want to not have basically what I've seen in this beta, which is people just leaving lobbies when they're assigned to the Rebels and just keep re-entering until they are on the Empire. That's not to say that the Rebels didn't win a couple times, but it's a hell of a lot harder. I'm also not really happy with the hero gameplay, and I'm in the minority. I know a lot of people have really been having fun with them, but first off, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the token system with the heroes. Something I forgot to mention is that across the map there are different tokens that you can pick up. These tokens give you different power-ups, a thermal imploder, which is kind of like a more powerful thermal detonator, or a rocket. These are also served for equipping vehicles, but you have to find one of these tokens to play as a hero. Now, in previous Battlefront games, heroes were awarded for playing well, to be honest with you. They're kind of like an early kill streak award. However, finding these tokens, I feel, takes away from that. Not only does it feel like I'm getting rewarded for doing well, but this also makes it, say there's somebody who's truthfully just not very good at the game, goes and fires one of these heroes tokens, and the hero gets killed off in 15-20 seconds, which I saw happen a lot. That's a little frustrating because anybody who's played Battlefront for a while knows that the heroes are they're a pretty valuable resource, and they're something that you don't really want to be wasted. But I feel like that happens with these hero points. On top of that, I really don't think that the hero gameplay just feels that good. It's very floaty, it's hard to control the heroes, hard to get them to really go where I want them to. The jumping's a little weird. I understand that they always had high jump height, and I don't mind that, but it feels kind of like I'm running over the ground than I'm actually on the ground. I don't know what happened with the hero gameplay there, but it feels a little off, and I think that they need to ground it a little bit more and maybe give the heroes a little bit more health before launch, because right now I actually ended up passing up some of those hero coins because I just didn't really feel like I did much better playing as the heroes, which is not the way that heroes are supposed to play in Battlefront. That being said, the vehicles play very, very, very well. I played a ton in the TIE Fighters, I played a ton in the A-Wings, the X-Wings, the Snow Speeders, and I feel like the vehicle gameplay is really fun. It does a good job of mixing that DICE-style vehicle combat with the Battlefront combat, which is a little bit more accessible. And I actually found myself using vehicles most of the time. I thought it was really, really great, and it makes me a little sad that there's not going to be space battles in the final game. So, in conclusion, I know I've kind of been just rambling about how much I like the game, but I really, really like this beta. I think that if you're a Star Wars fan, this is complete fan service. You will be absolutely thrilled with the way that DICE presents Star Wars in this game. If you're a fan of the old Battlefront games, I think you'll also enjoy this. This is Battlefront for a new generation of shooters. This isn't exactly like it was, but this is how I think it should be in the modern shooter sense. I'm so glad they didn't go with a Battlefield clone, and it feels like it's its own game, but one that can still exist in the realm of modern shooters. However, there's a big downfall with that, and I think that the game was a little bit too casual for a lot of shooter fans. I feel, as I played the beta, just in a couple days, I really felt like I had already reached my skill cap. Not even just on level cap, but in terms of being good at the game. I feel like there's not a huge skill cap there, which is fine because I understand that EA, DICE, and Lucasfilm wants the game to be more accessible for, Star Wars fans, which is fine. But I do feel like this alienates a lot of players who are looking for a deeper and richer shooter experience, and that's definitely not going to happen in this game. Also, I feel like DICE really needs to show players why this game is going to be a good investment for $60. I love it being a Star Wars fan. However, if I was just a shooter fan, there's so many other games out there that I feel give me more for my money. This game, already confirmed, doesn't have a campaign mode, which Battlefront never really had a campaign mode, but it at least had the Galactic Conquest playlists. This doesn't even have that. This is strictly multiplayer and wave modes that you can play single player with a buddy, which was fun, though a little bit easy. Anyways, I feel like with this lack of content, added to the fact that at launch it will only have 4 planets to visit, some players might feel like this isn't really an investment that they can make when Fallout is going to have just come out and when games like Call of Duty will be on the horizon. So I feel like this beta should have maybe had a little bit more game modes to show people how diverse the game can be, because I found it being a little bit stale even just after a day or two. That being said, this game is exactly what you should be looking for if you are a Battlefront fan. If you're not a fan of the Battlefront series, honestly, this could be a toss-up because it's not your traditional shooter. But if you're a fan of Star Wars, if you're a fan of Battlefront, if you're a fan of pick-up-and-play games, then I think Battlefront will really appeal to you. Time will tell. We'll probably be doing a lot more coverage on Battlefront as it comes to its release on November 17th. But until then, this is Eddie with Player 2 Gaming, signing off.